All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. Glad to have you here. Before we dive in, I just want to take a few seconds, tell you, what today is actually about, and more importantly, what you're going to walk away with. This session is called The New Search Landscape, and we're going to cover exactly how Google and AI and social search are changing the way homeowners find and choose a remodeler or contractor and really what that means for your business specifically. But here's the part that I want you to hear. This isn't just a sit and listen kind of session. We've put together three free resources for everyone who sticks around to the end. And honestly, these are the same tools that we use ourselves when we're working with clients. And so here's what you're going to get completely free if you stick around to the end: the AI visibility checker, so you can see exactly what AI tools find or don't find when a homeowner asks them to recommend a remodeler such as your company. We also have the review request templates. These are 5 ready to use messaging systems for asking happy clients for reviews. So you're never staring at a blank screen, kind of wondering what to say or how to compose your message. We've got a template for you for that. And then the before and after post rewrite. This is a real side by side example showing you exactly what separates content that gets scrolled past and versus content that actually builds trust. Big difference there, right? And so here's the catch, and I promise it's just a friendly one. These are only going out to the people who are still with us at the end of the session. So Dave, Maria, Michael, I see you guys, Steph. Stick around to the end, and you will get these free resources along with everyone else that I see on here. We're not going to spam your inbox with them beforehand. We're not going to be sending a replay link with these free resources attached. So this is our way of really saying thank you for actually being here, participating live with us today, and hopefully you get some value by watching and being able to ask me questions if you have any as we go along. So let's go ahead and jump right in. You guys, most of you all know who I am, why you should listen to me. I used to be in remodeling, custom home development, have developed $1 million custom homes, real estate fix and flips, slumlording. I've done it all. But most importantly, and I just really love what I'm doing. I love coding. I've always been kind of a geek when it comes to that. Love figuring out the SEO algorithms, and now AI is a huge challenge that we're diving into. So I won't go too much deeper than that. You guys know that this is what we do day in and day out. We just work with general contractors, remodelers, builders, home improvement specialists. That's where we have decided to sharpen our sword, hone our expertise, and become the best at what we do, as opposed to being a generalist agency or trying to say that we're great for every industry out there. That's not what we're trying to do. And so what we'll cover today, we've got a lot of different topics we want to touch on here. Why the homeowner search journey has already changed, what social SEO actually is, and then how platforms understand your content, speaking the language that homeowners actually use. We'll also talk about the real homeowner search journey. We'll talk about why remodelers already have an advantage when it comes to this social SEO aspect. And then we're going to also talk about the 4 types of content that really build trust. So that's going to be really important. And then at the end, we're going to give you a 30-day action plan so you can actually take what we teach you and implement and put it into action for your own company. And so everyone knows that search is changing nowadays. For a long time, when contractors thought about getting found online, they thought about one thing, and that was Google. And that makes sense. For years, Google, they were the finish line. A homeowner needed a kitchen remodel, so they searched kitchen remodeler near me, compared a few companies, skimmed some reviews, and then they picked up the phone. And that world still exists, but it's no longer the whole picture. Google used to completely dominate. And now AI engines are getting about 7 to 8% of the share, and that's only going to continue to grow. And so by time a homeowner searches for a contractor, they've usually already made most of the decision in their head because of all the information and research that they've already found online. And so, if you look at this illustration here, today the search journey usually starts long before anyone, types a word into Google. A homeowner scrolls past the kitchen transformation on Instagram. They save a few ideas to a Pinterest board. They watch a remodeling walkthrough on YouTube, one night, just kind of out of curiosity. And then maybe weeks later, they read reviews on Google, they click through to a website, maybe even ask an AI assistant to recommend someone. But by time they search in the traditional sense, they've already been searching for quite a while. Maybe they just didn't call it that. Maybe instead of, doing searching on Google, they're just saying, I did some research on AI. It's all the same thing. It's going to point them to your company in the end, or it's going to point them to one of your competitors. And so here's the shift that contractors need to understand. Homeowners, they're not only searching for a contractor anymore, they're searching for confidence. They want to know things like, does this company do the type of work that I need? Have they solved problems like mine before? Can I trust these guys in my home? Are they the right fit for my project? Does their craftsmanship expertise, their project photos match the type of project I want? And so that's what changes, what marketing is actually for nowadays. It's no longer just about showing up the moment someone is ready to hire. It's also about becoming familiar and trusted long before that moment arrives. The companies that win in the future won't just be the companies homeowners find first, they'll be the companies homeowners already feel confident choosing. And so, what is social SEO? Social platforms, they aren't trying to entertain your audience. They're trying to understand you well enough to introduce you to the right audience, to the right homeowners that are looking for your services. So when most people hear SEO, they think about Google rankings, keywords, websites, and really fighting for that top spot in the search results. Google SEO still matters, and it still matters quite a bit, but search itself is expanding well beyond the search engine box. And so, just an illustration of that, the goal of SEO has always been the same: help the right person find the right information. The only thing changing is where that search begins. Social platforms, they've quietly become discovery engines in their own right. Think about how people actually use Instagram, for instance, or maybe YouTube or Pinterest. They're rarely looking for one specific company. They're looking for ideas, kitchen remodel inspiration, bathroom design ideas, home addition ideas, outdoor living spaces. They're exploring what's possible before they know who they'll even hire, or sometimes even before they know exactly what they themselves want. They haven't entirely worked that out yet. And so that means social media has become another place where homeowners discover expertise, not just entertainment. And this is where social SEO comes in. It has nothing to do with going viral or chasing follower counts. It's the practice of helping platforms understand what your content is actually about so that they can connect with it and connect that content to the right audience at the right moment. Google wants to surface the best website for a search. Social platforms want to surface the content they believe a specific person will find valuable. So it's the same underlying goal, just kind of a different system reading those signals. And so, how do social platforms really understand your content? One caption shows a project, and the other caption tells a story. And a story it's what both platforms and people actually remember. They remember the story. They see themselves in the story. One of the most common mistakes contractors make is assuming a great project photo speaks for itself. A beautiful transformation does matter, but a platform doesn't experience your work the way a homeowner does. A homeowner looks at a stunning kitchen and thinks, I love this design. The platform is asking for a completely different set of questions, though. It's saying, what is this? Who would find this valuable? Who should our, algorithm show this to next on our social platform? And so when you look at this illustration here, it's why the context isn't optional. The context is the difference between a post that performs and one that just disappears into your feed forever. And so, compare these two captions here. Post one, beautiful kitchen transformation completed. All right, that clearly put, nothing wrong with it, but it doesn't tell the platform or the homeowner very much about that project. And then you have post two, and then it says this Denver kitchen remodel transformed an outdated layout into a more functional gathering space with custom cabinetry, improved storage, and a better workflow for the family. And so now there's real information: where it happened, what type of project it was, what problem it solved, and then why it mattered to the people living there. And so if your caption could describe anyone's project, it won't be found by the right homeowner. Keep that in mind. You want to make sure the right homeowners are finding your captions based on all the information that you're feeding the algorithm. In other words, it's helping find those eyeballs for you. And here's a really big tip here, and that is speak the language that homeowners use. So you don't need a bigger vocabulary. You just need your customers' vocabulary. And so this is another place that contractors leave visibility on the table, is this language part. The words contractors use internally are often very different from the words homeowners actually type or say out loud. Very big distinction here. So, illustration, contractor says, we specialize in whole home renovations, but a homeowner searches how to transform an outdated home. Okay, those are completely different. Or a contractor might say custom cabinetry installation. Seems pretty straightforward, but homeowners probably searching kitchen storage ideas. They're not thinking about custom. They're not thinking about the installation part of it. Those aspects, those parts of the keyword, those words within the keyword don't really mean as much to the homeowner as the contractor thinks they do. And none of this means abandoning professional language. Your expertise still needs to come through. It just means translating that expertise into the words that your customers are already using in their own heads. And so, great marketing isn't about saying more. It's about being understood immediately by the person you're trying to reach. There's no ambiguity there. And so the best content is not written for algorithms, it's written for people in a way that the algorithms can understand. So you're still writing, you're still producing, you're still doing SEO for algorithms and homeowners both, but the distinction is what we're trying to clarify here. And let's think about it from the homeowner search journey point of view. One of the biggest misconception that contractors carry is thinking that homeowners search for a contractor the moment they decide to remodel. And that's rarely how it actually plays out. The best time to earn trust is not when a homeowner is ready to hire, it's when they are still deciding on what's possible for their particular project. And so when you look at this graphic here, most homeowners, they begin in this inspiration mode. They're saving photos, they're exploring ideas, they're asking questions, they're trying to understand what's even possible for their space and their budget. There's no company name in their head yet. Just kind of a vague picture of what better could look like, better in air quotes. Um, Only after that do they really move into that research mode. This is when they start comparing companies, reading reviews, browsing portfolios, and kind of evaluating the process and experience that they think they're going to have with different contractors. Evaluating that in a side by side comparison. And then reaching out to a contractor, it's almost always the last step. It's not the first. They've done all that research, they've made all those comparisons, they've read all those reviews. When they finally call you, most of the time they have done all of this research already. They already trust you. You've already kind of halfway won the job. Now just answer the phone, which a lot of remodelers, builders nowadays still aren't doing. I don't understand it. And just bang my head on the wall, but don't get me going down that rabbit hole on not answering your phone. It is a big problem in the industry, most industries for that matter. Anyways, though, if you only show up when homeowners are trying, they're ready to buy, you'll always be competing on price. But if you show up earlier, now you're competing on trust instead. And so this is exactly why early visibility matters so much. If your company only shows up at the very end of that journey, you're kind of walking into a crowded room already. You're competing with everyone else at the single moment that the homeowner is finally ready to decide. Now it's kind of a free for all, a piranha frenzy, if you will. But if you show up earlier, while they're still, exploring and learning, you get to build familiarity before the competition even enters the picture. And so, why remodelers have an advantage that I mentioned at the beginning of today's workshop. You already have the hardest part of marketing solved. You have real stories that are earned through the jobs you've done and the real job site photos that you're already posting out there that you already have. And so here's the good news. Remodelers already have the hardest part of the marketing solved. You have all that kind of, what we'll call like anecdotal evidence of all the work you're doing. That's the hard part. And so your expertise is already your greatest marketing asset. The opportunity is turning that expertise into content that homeowners can discover. And so you have to recognize your skill. You have real stories, real transformations that have taken place on your job sites. You have real expertise earned on those job sites. A lot of businesses and other industries struggle because they simply don't have anything interesting to show. Remodeling and custom home building, like it's one of the most visually entertaining and visually interesting industries out there. You have all these great before and after photos. You've got these design challenges that you work through in a methodical way. You've made some tough decisions on different materials and finishes, and you have honest homeowner experiences that probably includes some real problem solving moments. And you have this every single week, every single job you're out on. And so the mistake that most remodelers make is only ever showing the finished result. Now, because homeowners aren't just buying a finished space, they're buying confidence in the process that got them there. They want to know how you think, how you solve problems when they don't go as planned, how you handle challenges, and what it actually feels like to actually work with your team, for the next several weeks, maybe several months. That's exactly where educational and behind the scenes content becomes so powerful. It answers the questions that a finished photo really never can answer. And most often, it's answering the questions that homeowners have in their mind that they're actually asking. They want to know more about the process. They've already looked at your photos. They know you can do the work. Now they want to know what's it like to work with this contractor. And so, what content should remodelers and builders, home improvement specialists really create for their social platforms? And I think the best performing content for remodelers and builders, it really tends to fall into four different categories. And so, first is the project stories. Don't just show the finished kitchen or the finished bathroom. Explain the journey. What was the homeowner struggling with before you arrived? What challenge did your team actually solve? And then what decisions made the project successful? And then the other category is educational content. Homeowners have dozens of questions long before they ever contact a contractor. Answer those questions directly. Explain realistic timelines or what can throw that timeline off. Walk through the different decisions that they're going to have to make throughout that process. Point out the common mistakes that you see other people making, other competitors of yours, and what you think they're doing wrong, or maybe you've heard about it when you're at the local home builders association and you're talking. Like, just file that away. Some anecdote, some story they told you. The company that educates becomes the company that homeowners trust. And that often happens well before they've even spoken to anyone on your team. Build that trust in advance. And then another category is behind the scenes content. And this is a good one. Show the process, not just the result. Show the craftsmanship. Show the people behind the company. Trust is built the moment a homeowner can actually picture what it's like to have your crew in their home. Are you going to respect everything, their pets, their plants, the cleanliness of their home? Wearing booties, laying down tarps, plastic wherever it's needed, not letting stuff pile up in the yard where it's going to be a dead yard, weeks down the road. Things like that really matter to homeowners, not just how great you are at your job and your remodels and your craftsmanship. Don't get stuck in your own bubble. In other words, I like to kind of say. And then the fourth type of really effective content is content built around authority. Sharing your perspective, in other words. Explain why you recommend certain materials over others. Talk openly about lessons you've learned on past jobs. And then help homeowners, make better decisions, even ones that don't involve you directly. You're kind of their resource, their guide. We do that a lot. With all of our clients and partners across the United States, they're always asking us different things that don't deal with just marketing, but we have enough experience because we've worked with folks all across the country and we've been doing this for years and years and years. So same thing for you guys. Be that resource, that educational repository of answers for your homeowners, your potential clients. And let's talk about how social SEO kind of fits into the bigger picture here. Social SEO, it's not replacing Google SEO. It's just adding another layer to your overall visibility. So, the goal isn't to be everywhere. It's to be understood everywhere that your customers are looking for you. Big difference there, right? And so here's kind of a busy graphic that kind of illustrates what I'm talking about. So just kind of, go through this, follow the numbers here. Number one, you're establishing your foundation, your website, the hub of everything you do, explains your services. And Google, captures those homeowners who are actively searching. They're urgently searching right now for your company. And then social media creates that awareness and that familiarity long before that search actually happens. And then, you have the reviews that build trust at the exact moment someone is starting to make that decision on who they're going to reach out to. And then increasingly, the AI tools are pulling from all of these different signals together to understand and to recommend your company. So the future isn't about picking just one channel and mastering it in isolation, or just saying AI is going to do everything. The future is about building a connected digital presence where every piece reinforces the other pieces. That's what we call synergy, right? All of those marketing channels, those marketing pieces, all working in synergy together for you to stand out, to become the contractor of choice. So in a nutshell, Google finds you, social platforms remember you, and then together they build the trust that a homeowner needs before they even make that first call. So hopefully that makes sense. A lot going on, like I said in this graphic, but it really talks about the synergy of these things working together. AI, social media, SEO, all your content creation and syndication. Content is king. We know that. So all of that stuff is working together so that you become the trusted resource for those homeowners out there. And so let's get into a five-step action plan. I want you guys to walk away with something that you can actually use here today. Like I said before, the goal isn't to be everywhere, it's to be understood everywhere that your customers are looking. So understanding how search is changing really matters. The real value is in knowing what to actually do next. A lot of contractors, they hear about SEO, AI, social, and they think, great, but where do I even start? Like, Bob, I don't know this stuff. Like, I'm a builder. How am I supposed to know this? I'm old school. I don't even have, an answering service yet, or anyone answer my phones, or I don't even know what AI stands for. So we get a lot of that. The good news is, you don't need to reinvent your marketing overnight. You already hold most of really the most valuable asset in this whole equation, and that's your experience, all the stuff that you've been doing, all those jobs that you've been doing. And so now the goal is simply just making that expertise easier for homeowners and the platforms those homeowners are on to better understand you. That's really what it boils down to. How can you make your expertise better and more easily understood for homeowners? And so here's the first five steps that I would start with. Step one, define who you want to reach. Before creating more content, get very specific about who you're actually trying to attract. A lot of companies make the mistake of creating content for everyone, which, ironically, ends up resonating with no one. The more specific you get, the easier it becomes for the right homeowners to recognize your company as a fit for them. And so ask yourself, what type of projects do we want more of? What type of homeowner do we serve best? What problems do these homeowners need help solving? The goal was never to reach the most people, it's to reach the right ones, the ideal customer avatar that I'm sure you've went through because you've watched all my previous webinar workshops. You know how to define your customer avatar, all the different bullet points about them, what makes them qualified over other unqualified prospective customers. That's who you're trying to reach. And it's this clarity that's going to help create visibility for you. The more clearly you understand who you serve, the easier it becomes for the right homeowners to find you. And then step two, turn your projects into stories. Your completed projects are some of the strongest marketing assets that you own, but only if you go beyond that final photo. Every project has a story. What was the homeowner struggling with? What made the project, genuinely challenging? What decisions did your team make along the way? What actually changed once it was done, once it was completed? Yeah, kitchen remodel isn't just new cabinets and countertops. It's a family finally getting a space that works for how they actually live. A bathroom remodel isn't just new tile and some fixtures. It's a space that finally fits their everyday life instead of fighting, against this small little cramped space or a vanity that was in the wrong place. Just, that's what they're trying to move beyond. Tell that story. The more of that story you share, the easier it is for a homeowner to see themselves in it. People do not just want to see what you built, they want to understand how you think. And I'll just mention kind of offhand, there's a book out there about story branding, and I can't think of the author offhand, but it's story branding. It's talking about telling your story from a story perspective, and that way you help people see themselves in that story. So if you're talking about that bathroom remodel, that kitchen remodel, and how you'd move things around and take that wall out and turn the island into a peninsula and different things like that, people start to see their kitchen in that story that you're telling them. And then people see themselves in that story. They see themselves standing there cooking on that new peninsula. They see themselves cooking on that new, high end fancy oven cooktop. They see themselves opening those fancy cabinets with the glass that they can see through and things like that. So really telling that story helps invite people in to become a part of their own story that you're going to help create with them. Step three of the process, create content around homeowner questions. Your best content ideas, they're already hiding in the conversations that your team is having probably every single day. So think about all the questions that homeowners ask before they ever sign anything. How long does a remodel take? What should we budget for this project? What mistakes should we avoid? How do we know if we're choosing the right contractor? Now, every one of those questions is a content opportunity. Answer them consistently, and you stop being just another company showing off projects. You become a trusted resource that homeowners return to time and time again to find answers, during their research and discovery phase. The questions that homeowners ask before hiring you are the same questions your content should answer before they even contact you. One tip here is we put FAQs on every one of our partners' websites. Every client we work with, we put those FAQs out there because those are the questions that homeowners already have. We know that. We've talked to our clients. What are the questions you always get? So that's a hot tip for you to employ is to make sure that you have FAQs on your Google page, certainly on your website. Put them into your social media posts and incorporate them into your content and into your social posts. Build consistency around your expertise. One of the most common mistakes that companies make is posting randomly, like a kitchen remodel one week, something completely unrelated the next week. The problem isn't quality, it's clarity. When your content jumps around, both homeowners and platforms struggle to understand what you're actually known for. Pick the topics that connect with your ideal customers and then keep creating around those same themes. Over time, your audience starts to associate your name with that specific expertise. And then that association is what authority, that's the authority that you're actually looking for. That's what authority actually is. And so you do not build authority with just one great post. You build authority by consistently showing what you know. And then step five, connect your entire digital presence. Social search works best when it reinforces everything else you're already doing, not when it operates in isolation. Your social content should connect to your website, your Google business profile, your reviews, your project portfolio, and your educational content. Educational content, there it is again. Each piece is another signal that helps people and the different platforms really understand who you are. A homeowner might discover you on Instagram, but then they're going to go visit your website and then they're going to read your reviews. And then finally, maybe they search your company name directly on Google to, directly get to you to some of your other online digital assets. Every single interaction adds another layer of confidence that they have in you. That you will be the right fit for them in this big, big, monetary decision and lifestyle decision that they're getting ready to make. It's not like a plumbing fix, or you just want to get the toilet fixed so it quits overflowing. This is a big, big decision in people's lives. So you got to build a lot of trust along the way, build a lot of confidence through every single interaction. Marketing does not happen in one moment. Trust is built through every interaction a homeowner has with your brand, for everything they see online, every person they talk to, every appointment, everything every interaction that they have with you. That's where trust is built. And so let's talk about the 30-day social search plan. You don't really need a bigger marketing budget to get started on this. You just need 30 days and one good project to turn into several pieces of content. And you got to stay consistent with this. You really have to commit to this. I'm not going to, beat around the bush here. You got to commit to it. But if you want a simple place to start, here's what your next 30 days should look like. So week one, you're auditing your current presence. You're looking honestly at what projects you're showcasing, what question homeowners keep asking you, what your profiles currently communicate about who you are. That's something to really look at. Is all that pretty consistent on all your different profiles? Something to think about. Step two, create your content foundation. So, what I mean by this is like choose 3 to 5 core topics, define your ideal homeowner audience, your ideal customer avatar we talked about, and then decide which type of projects you actually want more of. Pretty simple, right? Week three, start creating searchable content. Take one of your projects and turn it into multiple pieces of content, before and after post, a full project story, maybe an educational video, maybe a problem you solved, that you came across and were able to solve it, on the site. Maybe it's FAQ content that those questions homeowners have. Maybe it's some behind the scenes footage of you and your team, shooting the bull or talking about the project, or maybe just laughing, having a good time on a project site. That's allowable, right? You can have a good time on a project site. And then week four, review what's working. Look at what's getting saved, what's getting shared, what's sparking some conversation or some comments. And then, what's attracting the right kind of audience? Are you getting a lot of likes, but then you find out that these are, I don't know, maybe just third-party companies or people that are just trying to follow your company, but they're not actually homeowners that are going to actually do business with you. So, look at your audience and who's clicking. Don't just take those numbers for granted. And then once you figure out all this, and figure out what's working, then just keep doing more of that. The posts that don't perform, quit doing them. They're not performing. The ones that do perform, learn from that. Keep doing those. And then remember that, technology is going to keep changing. Google will keep evolving. AI will keep reshaping how people find information. But one thing will not change. Homeowners will always choose the companies they trust. Plain and simple. People do business with people they know, like, and trust, right? The contractors who win going forward will be the ones who are easy to find, easy to understand, easy to trust, typically in that order. Easy to find, easy to understand, and easy to trust. Your projects, your experience, and your reputation, they're already valuable marketing assets. The only real question left is really whether homeowners can actually find them. And I'll say to begin, because it's just so important. Homeowners will always choose the companies they trust. The only thing changing is how that trust gets built nowadays, right? Let me know if you have any questions. I've been talking a lot here. I've been rambling on, but trying to hopefully really instill in you not only the principles here, but just the confidence to go forward with this plan, to think about how you're posting and what you can do better. I know some of you on here are doing some really good things with your social media. Keep doing that, but also think about what I've taught you today and think about how that differs from what you're doing and think about, have I tried this yet? Did I try it and it didn't work? I'm going to ignore Bob. Or, hey, I haven't tried this. I really like the sound of this. Behind the scene footage, problem solving on video, things like that, not just the after photos, because I know most of you on here, you're all showing your after photos because that's what remodelers and builders do, right? You show off your finished work, and that's great. It feeds your ego a little bit, showcases that how good your company is, so it feeds the company ego. Homeowners see it, but the bottom line is that's not the only thing that everyone's looking for. To follow you on social, they're going to need more than just after photos. And I was looking at someone reached out to me from kind of an inbound lead a few days ago. And so I went and I looked at what they were doing on social media because had this webinar on my mind. And it was just finished photo, finished photo, finished photo, finished photo. That was their whole feed. There was really nothing else going on. Just here's another project we finished. Here's another project we finished. And every month or two, that's what they were putting out there. Like no one's following that. No one, that gets boring really quick. They might follow up for a couple and then they're like, oh, this is all this is going to be. Well, would you stick around too if that was it? Probably not. So, anyways, for those of you that did stay, I appreciate all you guys sticking around and listening to me. Before we wrap up completely here, I promised you these 3 free resources at the start. For everyone who's stuck around. So I want to get those in your hands now. So for everyone on the webinar, I've got your email. Here's just a quick recap of what's going to be coming your way. We've got the AI visibility checker. And this is basically asking, would AI even recommend your business right now? Are you the one that's AI is recommending? Because AI only recommends one business. It's not like Google where they list a whole bunch of companies. They recommend one business. Is it your business? And so this free check tells you, pull in the same signals that AI tools are looking for, like reviews, project proof, proof of concept, consistency in everything you're doing from posts to pictures to different projects, review volume and frequency. And then, showing exactly where those gaps are for you. The AI visibility checker does all that for you. And then we have the review request templates. We got 5 copy paste templates for you, in-person ask, follow-up messages, specific prompts, kind of like gentle little nudges, kind of a referral, review quest, combination ask. And each of these has timing guidance and the actual message to send, plus 3 rules of thumb at the end. No discounts for reviews, persistence isn't pushy, reuse your great reviews, like get some good rules of thumb that you should be following that you may not be. And then a before and after post rewrite. So with this, we walk you through generic versus specific caption examples that we built for the webinar deck. And so it explains why the specific version works and then kind of ends with a simple 4-step formula that readers can apply to their own on their next 3 posts. So those are the freebies that you'll be getting for the people that stayed here. We'll be emailing you over those, and then you can, of course, reach back out to me and let me know if you have any questions on any of that stuff or how to use it or how to apply it to your company. I'm always here as a resource for you. If you do want to reach out to me as a resource, You can. I just saw in chat someone asked how they reach me. You can call that's our office number. It rings to my cell phone. You can also email me, or you can just go ahead and book a call online, and then we can schedule a call and just have a chat. So if you want to reach out and see how we can maybe help you with the social SEO aspect, how we can maybe help with the social media marketing that you're doing, or combine it with SEO, or bring in the new answer engine optimization, basically AI SEO, that's what they call AEO now. Whatever you need help with, let us know. We're here as a resource for you. Otherwise, I want to thank everyone for sticking around. Thanks for staying to the end here. You earned those freebies. Thank you for giving me some of your time today. I know everyone's busy. You're on job sites. You're training your crew. You're dealing with HR nightmares like we all do. Um, but I really appreciate you guys sticking around here. I hope you got some really good value out of the content. It's educational content that I preach. We eat our own dog food. We're just trying to put education out there, move the industry forward, help companies move their companies forward, grow their businesses, serve more of their community, and ultimately, grow your revenues as well. So, hope you got a lot out of this, folks. Thank you again for attending and sticking with us here, and multiple people here are on all of our webinars. So I really appreciate you guys. You know who you are. I won't call you out by name, but thank you to everyone, and we'll look forward to seeing you next month on our next webinar. Take care, everyone. Have a good rest of your day.